Hey, everybody. Welcome back to High Level Listening. Today's lesson is especially good for you guys if you are feeling a little bit stuck in your B1 level, but you do have a very comfortable B1 intermediate level small talk, and you want to move into that confident B2 English listening. So, for our students that are feeling a little bit stuck, this should be a very helpful lesson for you today.
Yes, exactly. Have you ever been chatting with someone about your daily life or your hobbies comfortably in English, but then the conversation turns to a deeper topic and you suddenly feel stuck? Maybe you can understand everything, but when it's your turn to speak, you struggle to name ideas or you can't quite express what you really mean. If this sounds like you, then this video is for you.
What makes this a true B2 English listening lesson is the way that we speak. It's the conversation will flow naturally, but with more specific vocabulary, more nuanced opinions, and slightly more complex grammar, all without feeling too formal or too academic, like you would sound if you read something directly from a textbook.
So it's a little bit more advanced. Don't worry if you don't catch all the vocabulary. We do have a vocabulary sheet for you to download to help you truly understand every single word and phrase from today's lesson.
Okay, so here's today's big question that will kind of push you more into the B2 level. Would you say you're in control of your screen time? Okay, so here's that question again. You'll probably see it in a textbook kind of phrased this way. Would you say you're in control of your screen time?
Okay, so in real life, people probably won't ask you that question directly like that. It sounds a bit intense and a bit strange. But instead, you'll probably hear people talking about themselves and their phones. And they might say something like, I swear, I open my phone for 5 minutes and somehow it turns into half an hour.
Or something more casual like, "Ugh, I've been trying to cut down on my screen time recently. It's much harder than I thought."
Or even, I spend most evenings doom scrolling in bed. So this is how real B2 conversations begin, or this is a way to get into those deeper, more complicated topics that are often at a B2 level. They start with small talk, a few simple statements, and then you go from there and you share your thoughts on these tricky subjects. And today we'll talk about 3 different types of conversations in 3 different ways. The first one, you agree with someone you're talking to and you'll tell them a personal story. The second conversation is to share some ways we agree and disagree with the person. And then the third conversation will be talking about articles that you've read or things that you've researched or seen online to share some insight backed up by facts.
So by the end, you should be able to understand this topic and feel ready to talk about it confidently in real life and kind of at the upper end of the B2 level English.
So back to our question. We'll skip the small talk and just get into the good stuff. The question was, would you say you're in control of your screen time?
So we were kind of at a get together the other night, and here's kind of what a friend of ours said about this topic. He said something along the lines of, I'm trying, but it's harder than I thought. So he basically said, I wouldn't say I'm addicted, but I definitely lose track of time. I'll open my phone to reply to one message, and suddenly I've fallen down a rabbit hole. It's so habit forming. I've tried to cut back and set boundaries, but the algorithm always seems to know what will keep me scrolling. It's much, much harder than I expected, honestly. Now, this was kind of something that a friend of ours just started talking about. And honestly, Mark and I can absolutely relate to something like that. That sounds like something everybody's a little bit addicted to their phones, right? So we're going to share our own feelings in kind of a conversational way and sort of naturally float in between B1 and B2. So, Mark, do you want to share your story?
Mm. Yeah, I think it's funny because no one would describe themselves as addicted. And I wouldn't say it either. But when I think about my own patterns of behavior with my phone, like how much I use it and how often I use it, it doesn't sound great. I often start replying to someone and go down a rabbit hole. I just get distracted by other videos, memes, pictures, messages. I think the reason I get so tangled up in it is because all of the pointless, frivolous stuff like memes, videos is directly alongside actually important things. Like if I get a ping or a message on my phone, I really have to check it because it could be my mum who needs help or an urgent message from my family. But at the same time, it could also be a fake bot sending me a friend request, but I have to check it and see just in case. And then usually as soon as I check, it's automatic. My thumb just starts going to the apps and the icons by themselves. I've even done that thing where I closed an app and then I just opened it again 2 seconds later. It's like looking at the screen wipes my brain clean and I have no idea where I am or what I'm supposed to be doing. It's almost kind of unnerving how helpless and automatic it feels.
I mean, I completely agree, especially about going down the rabbit hole. That's me basically every evening. I think I'm just going to quickly check my phone and then, right, I'm on my phone for about half an hour. Now, I mean, it is kind of interesting because I guess when they started talking about this, I just didn't realize how used to I was to this constant stimulation. And it's
Mm,
just, when I tried to switch off in the evenings, I just felt a little bit restless and honestly kind of bored. And I really didn't
yeah.
know what to do with myself and with the silence. And it really showed me just how habit forming these apps can really be. I mean, I'm still working on it, but I've started kind of replacing screen time with small habits like maybe reading a few pages of my book. I plugged in my Kindle again because hadn't been charged for probably months, right? Or, just getting out of the house, trying to get away from the TV, going for a short walk. It's not easy, but I can already feel that my attention span and my mental bandwidth are already improving.
Right. You hear a lot of people say it robs your attention or steals your attention. Yeah, we use these same words for like crimes, like it's taking it without your permission, or it's taking it when you don't want to give it away. It just robs your time, robs your attention, your mental bandwidth, like you said. I agree. So then the conversation about phones and screen time went on from there. And there was another friend there at the get together. And she likes to act that she's kind of stronger mentally and better than everyone else who falls for
I know who
these
you're talking about.
apps. Right. And then she said, oh, it's just self-discipline. The amount of screen time you have is self-discipline, how much you control yourself. And she said something along the lines of, I actually think it comes down to self-discipline. Yeah, the apps are designed to give you that dopamine hit and instant gratification, but at some point you have to take responsibility. And if I notice that I'm feeling overstimulated or getting a digital fatigue, I just switch off and put my phone down. It's not always easy, but I do think we have more control than we admit.
Almost wanted to just roll my eyes. I was like, eye roll. Okay. I had to really stop myself from just, oh, it's just so
Mhm.
simple. Oh, it's so simple, right? Maybe that was a,
Right.
a bit of a hot take on her end because that was oversimplifying it, right?
Yeah, just turn it off. Just throw your phone in the ocean. What's the big deal?
That's all.
So,
All right.
yeah,
So as you can kind of see, Mark and I, don't totally agree. But I think what Mark's going to probably do is tell us his side. I disagree with that. But I'm going to be playing devil's advocate, and I'm going to actually agree with her. So you get both sides of this.
right. Yes. I think, in my opinion, the idea that it's just self-discipline is a bit naive. Like it's very easy to say, oh, just put your phone down. If it gets too much, just turn it off and walk away, go outside. But like I said before, all of my work, my personal contacts, my social essentials are all still on one device and it's on my phone and it's all in the same vicinity. And the irony is, if I want to go out and touch grass, like go out and see some nature and get away from screens, if I go out, I'll need my phone for the GPS to see where I'm going. If I should get away from my screen and go and socialize, I'll need to get on my phone and reach out to a friend on WhatsApp. And then probably while I'm checking that message, I'll see like a meme that I didn't reply to earlier. So I look at that and suddenly I've been lured back onto Instagram. So I'm sort of trapped in a cycle of 4 or 5 different apps. How else am I supposed to contact my friends without a screen? I even have some friends who live abroad, and the only way that we can contact each other is through messaging apps, which invariably means sending each other videos and memes. So it feels like taking a break from my phone is cutting myself off from a lot of useful and important things in my life. That's how invasive and intertwined social media and my life have become. And one more thing, I think coming back to my phone, if I go out and I take a walk and I don't look at my screen, if I come back home and I check and I've got dozens of missed calls or messages, that's not really acceptable either. No one really accepts the excuse, oh, I'm trying to get off my phone a little bit more. So sorry, you were stuck in the rain and I couldn't give you a ride home. Because they're like, where were you? I needed you. You always have a phone on you. So I don't think it's like a personal failing if I check my phone a lot. Our lives are built around our phone, and you have a personal responsibility to be online and contactable all the time. It's almost irresponsible to not be available at a moment's notice.
I know. I'm kind of thinking of when we were kids and we didn't have phones, and just all of a sudden we would show up back home and like nobody knew where we were. We didn't call anybody. We didn't tell anybody where we were.
Right?
And that seems crazy now. That seems absolutely crazy now. But it is this kind of fear of missing that phone call, or there's going to be an emergency and you're not there, right? That's the
Right.
fear. That's kind of what we've been driven to feel that if I don't have my phone, I'm naked or I'm missing something, right?
Yeah, you're
Okay.
in danger.
So yeah, exactly. So now I'm not gonna lie, I do love a hot take. So I'm gonna play what's called devil's advocate here. And I usually say this in conversations. I kind of think it's a little boring to always agree with somebody or to always say something so relatable. And I want to hear people's opinions. I want to hear kind of the differing opinion, right? So, and yeah, I understand that there are nuances and external factors involved. Like if your mom calls with an emergency, obviously that's a big deal. But I can see why our friend would say that she thinks it's mostly discipline. Because honestly, at the end of the day, no one is physically forcing you to pick up your phone. We might blame algorithms or say that apps are designed to give us that quick dopamine hit, which I mean, I do actually think is true, but we're still the ones making the decision here. Okay. We are alive. We can say no, right? We are the ones that pick up the phone, unlock the screen, and check our notifications, right? But I have noticed that when I am really focused on something important, like maybe something with work or a personal goal, I all of a sudden have no problem staying off my phone, right? That tells me that it's not impossible. I just need to redirect my attention. I need to be focusing on something else, not just on relaxing with my phone or being constantly on my phone. So, for example, there was this time I decided to cut back on social media during the week. I noticed that it was really interfering with work. And why don't I just put my phone down, like you said, right? So I had to set a boundary, right? First few days were a little bit tough, but when I made a clear rule for myself, no scrolling before 7 p.m., it actually worked. It was hard at first, but the difference wasn't just like an app or getting onto Instagram accidentally. It was the boundary I set for myself. So I made that rule and I stuck to it. That's why I actually succeeded. So while there are definitely some psychological tricks involved, I'd still argue that in most cases, it comes down to self-control. Do you pick up your phone or not, right? And are we willing to build better habits when we notice there's a problem?
Right. And I know you're playing the devil's advocate. That
I
whole
see
idea
your face
still,
crunched up
it
like,
still gives me the ick in a way.
it
It's
gives
the
you
whole
the
thing
ick.
that the responsibility is always pushed back on us, on the user. And I read something recently that was like, imagine someone's pouring like itching powder all over you all day, and they're pouring it on you, and they say, you know what? You should really learn how to meditate so you don't get bothered by all the itching. And it's like, wait a minute. It's the same thing where like oil companies or flight companies are saying, you should
Just
really,
thinking about that.
yeah, you should really watch your carbon footprint. You're making a big impact taking all these flights. And it's like, I
You
didn't
run a
design the
company
system.
that
Yeah,
literally makes money off of me doing this.
exactly right. So
Okay.
they've designed the
I
apps
know.
to be as
Yeah.
distracting as possible. And then they're like, you shouldn't watch it so much. I'm like, it's not my fault. It's a social
My fault.
epidemic. All right. Well, let's go on to our last piece of this conversation about screen time. There was a third friend who gave their opinion as well. And I think I'm quite aligned with this person as well. And we'll say what we think about their opinion. They said it's bigger than just willpower, or rather, willpower sometimes isn't enough. And our friend started talking about how he doesn't think it's just willpower. We're exposed to notifications and constant stimulation. And that kind of thing affects our attention span and our mental bandwidth without us even realizing. I mean, I'm not glued to my phone 24/7, but at the same time, they could definitely see how productivity drops when this information overload kicks in. And yeah, I think I agreed with what they had to say. And actually, I read some things the other day about phones and attention spans. And there was an article and it said, your attention didn't collapse, it was stolen. So rather, people are not lazier or stupider than in the past, but the things around us have completely changed. And this article was not just about information overload, but it talked about how being constantly online and being constantly distracted slowly erodes your ability to think and to concentrate. So they did a study where some students took a test and some of them had no phones, while another half were allowed their phones, and they kept receiving text messages every 5 or 10 minutes and they checked them. And the ones that checked their phones, they scored on average 20% worse in the test. So it shows that every time you refocus your mental energy, it takes some performance or bandwidth away from you. Your mental bandwidth suffers and your brain doesn't get the chance to recover properly when your phone is constantly going off. You're getting pings, messages, alerts. They even quoted this French expert on attention spans, and she basically said, there is no way we can have a normal brain today.
Oh no, we're doomed.
Surrounded. I know, it's pretty bad news. Yeah, we're just constantly surrounded by stimulus, and constantly moving your attention from one thing to the other just exhausts your brain. They said that your brain can really only handle 1 or 2 thoughts at the same time. But on your phone, you've got social media companies actively designing their feeds to bury you with as much content as possible, and your brain literally can't keep up with it. So yeah, like I said, you could cut yourself off, but social media companies know this and choose to create platforms that hack your attention instead of healing it. So it's no wonder everyone's burned out and lost and confused about what to do or why they think they're losing their ability to focus.
That kind of brings me back to what you said. It's all muddled, right? Because you go on an app to look up the news, but then you get stuck looking at cat memes, or you check a notification from your mom because you need to text her back, and then all of a sudden you're opening up TikTok or Instagram, and it's all muddled together. It all is enticing. The notification that was important feels as important as scrolling. And it sometimes you, like you said, sometimes you feel like, oh yeah, I'm doing this thing and it's making me smarter. It's oh, I just learned this cool life hack, this cool tip. And it is mixed in with a baby monkey getting cut off from its parents, and then the whole world is wondering, is this baby monkey gonna be okay with this little stuffed animal? And I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken for this little animal. I was actually reading an article the other day. Hold on. I think I even saved the quote because it really stuck with me. Dopamine scrolling seemingly operates through reward mechanisms and variable reinforcement schedules, making it a unique and potentially habit-forming behavior. Now, obviously, I'm not going to remember all of these words, so I wrote it down, but it's the science behind it. Okay, so dopamine scrolling, that really stuck with me. I've never heard that phrase before, but it just sounded perfect. Dopamine scrolling. So basically, it's telling you that your brain gets a little hit of dopamine, and you get rewarded. You were a little bit sad in the last video, so this really happy, cute video made up for it. Or you learn this life hack, so it's okay if you laugh at a stupid joke in the next a half a second, 20 seconds later. And so you don't know what's going to happen next. And that's the reward. That's the, I want to scroll endlessly. I got to keep going. What if the next video, this video was sad? What if the next video is happy? Or that video was crap. I need a new video.
Yeah.
And it really, really creates this habit forming behavior. And it's wild. Okay. This is where we're starting to, honestly, pardon my French, get a little bit messed up. No, I'm not going to say the bad word. But it's messed up. It's messed up. And when you think about it like that, it's not just about the next story. It is honestly the same techniques that they're using for gambling. They want you to sit there lifeless, thoughtless, mindless for hours because they want you there constantly. And you don't know if you're going to get something interesting, funny, or exciting. So you just keep scrolling, and that unpredictability is what keeps you hooked,
Just one
right?
more, just one
And
more.
there's no way it's just willpower. I really like what you said about the itching powder.
Mm.
That really was a good metaphor for um thinking about it's like, oh well, it's your fault. This is your problem.
Yeah,
It's
just
just
stop.
willpower. Right. And
Like
I
it's so
mean, yeah,
easy.
personal responsibility still matters. Like I want to feel like I'm in control of my life, but I just don't think it's that simple. All right. We're dealing with something that's so much more complex that science is trying to gather information, trying to figure out a way to help us because we are just drowning. We are just drowning. And I think it's way more than just being able to dig yourself out. These platforms are the ones that are essentially burying us in constant
Mm.
crap slop.
Yes. Yeah, it's a kind of, you could see the thing as a big manipulative trap because you get drawn to it with positive emotions and negative ones too. And it's 50-50. One phone is about some like outrage, injustice, corruption, it's politics. And there's this like pessimism, this pessimistic view of the world. So you get annoyed and frustrated by it. So you swipe, and then the next video is like a cute kitten or like a cat jumping over a barrier, a wall. And you're like, oh, that's nice. So to take a break and get away from all the bad news, you need to watch another video to see some good news. But then you swipe again and it's back to the bad news again. So you get frustrated by it, but the only way to escape it is to go back to it and hope you just get something nice on your feed instead. So we're all stuck. It's all a big manipulative cycle, I think. Okay, there you go. We're trying a much deeper conversation with some more complex and nuanced opinions, again, to really help you push your English level to B2 and higher. We shared some different opinions back and forth. And yeah, hopefully you have a slightly deeper understanding of this topic and you've gained the ability to express some things that you think in English as well.
Absolutely. And remember, this is great listening practice, but you don't have to say every sentence perfectly or even keep the entire conversation and every sentence at the B2 level. That's just kind of not a natural way of speaking. We're going to be bouncing back and forth from simple ideas to more complex ideas. And that's a much more natural way to use this in conversation.
Yes, right. So the point of these videos is really to start you on the hard level. And then the next time you have a conversation about this kind of thing, about screen time, phones, social media, maybe you can sprinkle in some of the vocabulary and phrases or things that you heard in this episode. And hopefully you'll be able to express yourself more clearly, more accurately, and more closely to how you really feel about these subjects.
And remember, we've got a free PDF for you to download down below with the dictionary and all of those difficult words and phrases. This should be interesting for you to look through these after you've done some listening. And then maybe you can listen again, and that will kind of help really solidify some of those vocabulary phrases.
Yeah, and lastly, what do you think? Would you say that you're in control of your screen time? We'd love to hear your thoughts, opinions, and also help you out if you have any English questions as well.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and chat with us in the comments below. We'll see you again soon for another B2 English listening video here on High Level Listening.
Bye-bye.